Hello, loves. I just realized if you're watching this video on YouTube, it looks deceitfully sunny. Well, I mean, the sun is out, but we're definitely in the throes of autumn here in England. And I will start this by saying I did not see myself recording a podcast today. For those of you that don't know, with recent events, well, let me start here. I received an email from someone that listens to this podcast, and they asked me if I could create something for them in terms of just feeling really down about what's happening in the world right now, sometimes even overwhelmed and sadness, and even possibly hopeless. They did clarify, and I would like to clarify, that this is not this is an email for a time when you're experiencing, like we are right now in the world, like an extreme time where actually I think maybe hopelessness it is valid. Not that actually that's the wrong word. I don't even know. I'm gonna still let this go out imperfectly because I always like to be an example of being human. But what I will say is I think I too have been experiencing hopelessness in the past 2 weeks. And what I mean to say is this is not a podcast episode meant to heal anyone that's experiencing serious depression. It is meant to support you when you are feeling overwhelmed by things that are happening in the world that are, out of our control and hopefully temporary. So just as we experience things unfolding, feeling out of control, feeling distressed by them. So this person emailed me and asked if I would create a podcast episode on this, and I decided yes, I would. I did email them actually back immediately with some things, and that's going to create the basis of this episode. This episode, I will tell you, feels extremely vulnerable to me. For those of you that don't know, I was in Israel. I woke up in Israel on the morning of October 7th at 6:20 a.m. to my baby making noise and wanting to play and thinking about whether to take him outside. I was staying at my in-laws in a small village you won't have heard of probably. And I was thinking, if I go outside, I don't know where the keys are. We might, get stuck outside. I don't know when anyone will be awake. And luckily I didn't go, because 10 minutes later was when I was hearing the sirens and the rockets, and I would have been down there actually not able to get back indoors and not knowing where the nearest shelter was. And so just even that realization that I have to be mindful of that when I go visit my in-laws is terrifying. The realization that my husband was camping overnight and said, I'm going to switch my phone off. So I couldn't get hold of him in the morning until he woke up, and being lucky that he camped in the north and not in the south, but could have gone either way, feeling extremely, I don't know if the word lucky is right, but just very aware that because of where my in-laws lived, I was safe. But there was a very different reality that was very possible for me that morning. So please bear with me in this podcast episode as I do share these facts and this vulnerability, and join me in praying for, I don't even pray, but really praying for the release of innocent hostages and praying for the end of innocent loss of life and in Gaza as well, and just praying, hoping, wishing, dreaming, whatever it is for you, thinking, holding, the possibility of peace, holding the possibility of the end of terror here. And so with all that being said, thank you for letting me share a little bit. I don't write out my podcast, so this is just me speaking from the heart a little bit. I hope it wasn't too much. So in saying that, I do want to share with you some of the things that I shared with this person, and some of the things that maybe you want to share with other people and you want to think about yourself, which is, how can we support ourselves? So the first thing that I wanted to acknowledge is that many of us, I know me included, are dealing with feeling distressed, sometimes hopeless, and just being very mindful that these heavy emotions are not solved often by a simple 3-step solution of, I mean, I did share on my Instagram about taking breaths and taking breaths in and out and whatever was working for me at that time in that moment. And that's great that was working for me in that time, in that moment. But the solution to creating safety in your body at this time, when it for sure is triggered as it's designed to be, is not as simple as necessarily do everything that I suggest on this list. So I'm really sharing with you some of the things that I am doing and have been doing that have helped me, with no promise that they will help you, but with a hope that they will, or with a hope that they will inspire you into thinking about some things that can help you. And these are just the things that I've been doing to try and break away from my own hopelessness, my own anxieties, my own fear, my own grief, my sadness, feeling distraught, the heavy, heavy emotions that I continue to carry. So one of the things, I actually forgot about it until yesterday when I went to see my parents, and these are like sometimes silly things, they're not heavy things, but one of the things that I've been doing is puzzles. So in the newspaper in the UK, there's like always like a puzzle section with Sudoku and word search. And for me, I just find spending 10 minutes in a puzzle, whether it's like a word search or I do love Sudoku, it just really focuses my brain and brings me very into the present moment. There's something very healing about that definitely helps me and grounds me. So that's something that I've been doing. Now, for some of you, it may not be a word search in a newspaper, it may be Candy Crush on your phone or whatever it might be, but some kind of, for me, it's like something that requires a bit of my brain that I'm engaging with and interacting with, where there's like a close. It could be a literal physical jigsaw puzzle, whatever it is for you, something maybe with your hands, with your brain, a little bit, nothing so heavy and taxing, but something really light and simple that you can enjoy. That's one of the things that I've been doing that's been helping me. Another thing I've been doing, and I did a call out on my Instagram and got an amazing response from so many of you, thank you, is actively looking for good news and comedy, actively sharing good news and comedy. And that can be, again, asking other people, message your friends and say, send me something funny. Go on to the internet and Google something funny. Follow different accounts online. There's one I follow on Instagram called like Good News Dog, and they just share like good news. So I'm actively balancing out everything that I'm taking in, at least trying to balance it out with something joyful, something fun, something light, like just to keep my body as calm as possible. Another thing is having long breaks away from the news, like not telling yourself that you have to constantly be informed of every single thing, and really prioritizing and valuing mental rest. Now, it's not to say, like I just want to be mindful if your brain is polarizing, you're either informed 100% of the time or you're not informed. Like, it's very okay to be uninformed or out of the loop for a few hours, for a few days, whatever it feels like for you. I just want to be mindful that you're not guilting or shaming yourself for stepping away from consuming news and information, whether you are directly impacted by this, it's in your city, it's in your homeland, it's your people, or you are watching from the sidelines. Like, give yourself that mental rest. Actually, the day that I chose for mental rest was a day when the headlines were all saying about how I think it was Israel had bombed a hospital, and then it turned out that it wasn't, it was a Hamas rocket. And I just remember coming back online afterwards and thinking about like everything that I'd saved myself from by not being involved in that debate, by not being online, and I wasn't any less informed. I gathered all the same information 24 hours later. The other thing that I will speak about is quiet, like pure quiet, like sitting in a room with no noise, zero noise. I think so often, so many of us are so afraid of having total quiet, and I invite you to just seek some moments of total quiet, because the truth about total quiet is it's total presence with yourself. And that is highly valuable and highly healing and highly restful and highly nourishing. And that's more of what you need right now. And there's no, you're not going to be surprised when I say this, there's no time requirement on this. If you get 15 seconds of pure quiet, take that 15 seconds. If you get 2 minutes of pure quiet, take that 2 minutes. So really giving yourself that total quiet without judgment and without expectation and without requirements. And following on from that, I will say, me and my husband just did this while we were making lunch. We decided to put on happy music. And what's amazing about that is, you know, the songs that you can't help but sing along to, again, it gets you kind of out of your head and out of your body and into like an automated place. Like it's like the memory of it, the habit of it takes over, and you get to be pulled into a different reality for a moment. And that, for me, is very healing, even though it's obviously not sustainable forever. And that leads me to the last thing, is really one of the things I've been prioritizing is doing things that feel good in my body. That may be having a hug, that may be having lots of hugs, that may be hugging for longer than I usually do, that may be snuggling up under a warm blanket and putting the fire on now I'm back in England, that may be having a warm shower or a warm bath. So really giving time to those things that literally feel good in my body. So here are just some things for you. Again, I really encourage you to think about what normally feels good for you, what's felt good for you in the past, what sounds like it might feel good for you, and be willing to try them, be willing to not have them produce the results that you want, and be willing to not have hours to do them, and to just start with, like I said, even 15 seconds. I hope this episode helps you. Feel free to share it with anyone that you think it might help. And let's just, like I said, send our thoughts, prayers, love, and hold in our hearts all the innocence. All right, that's it from me. Bye.